And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
I can't catch a break, guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys.
People think, oh, well, cleaning your room, that's just a cliche. It's like, yeah, really, eh? Just go ahead and try it.
If people had any idea how powerful sleep is for healing from anything, and the fact that it's free.
My mind is absolutely bulletproof, solid as a rock.
Podcast. Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode. Thanks so much for joining myself and Chris. In this week's episode, we're going to have a chat about getting back on track, or initially even getting started. So what do we think is important if you fall off track? What are also going to be the key principles if you're getting started? Because either way, you're really getting started again, aren't you?
Yes. So you mentioned when we were trying to decide what we were talking about today, you mentioned the first thing we have to do is decide. And I think that's really, really important. So the first thing is you decide, you're making the commitment, and you're going to get things back on track. Not just like kind of saying it or kind of half committing. Like you're like, nope, this is it. This is the point. I'm drawing the line in the sand. I'm committing now. I'm going to do whatever I can in my power to make sure that this happens.
Yeah, exactly. And so many people act like it's hard to do it, and it's not hard to do it. It's hard to decide to do it, because once you really made the decision, that's it. And so many people, one of the reasons that they quit in the first place is that they still haven't even made the decision. You know, they've kind of willed themselves through, they've put a carrot in the stick, they've forced themselves, they've bullied themselves, but they haven't yet made the decision to make the change. And that is a really, really, in fairness to anybody who's struggling, that's a hard thing to do, because you have to decide that the sacrifice, the juice is worth the squeeze. All right. And so again, if it's not worth it, it's like if you haven't squared away that this is exactly what you want, well then, you know, it's like it's going to seem like, oh,
how do you do that?
So what you have to do, and oftentimes we run to something or we run from something. All right. So it's, what is it? It's either, what is it? Oh, there's such a good quote. There's a nice little saying. It's on the tip of my tongue. Pain or pleasure. It is
Heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell. No, it's motivation or desperation, right? So we either see something that inspires us enough to run, or we are in a situation that is too painful to stay.
That's it.
And an awful lot of people wait for the pain, which is, you know, unfortunate, because it means that you're going to have to hit rock bottom. It's like, or again, you can decide that there's something greater for yourself that you really want. And the vast majority of people just wait for rock bottom.
Yeah, well, like a lot of the reasons why people get out of shape is because they're comfortable. You know, and they like being comfortable and it's cozy there, and all of a sudden, like, they don't even realize that stuff is starting to slip away. And when they do realize, they have a way bigger journey to take than they would have if they had just started earlier. But so again, that's waiting for the pain to reach a certain point until that motivates you instead. And that is really motivating. It does work. It does work for some people, but it also leaves you a bloody mountain to climb as well.
Mm. Yeah, what you're excited as well is like, you might not know that there's a problem until you hit rock bottom as well. It's like, some people is like, that's good enough. It's good enough. Where I'm at is good enough. And that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're starting to run into an issue of standards. And so that's the question. The question is, are you happy with your current position? And if you are, cool, fantastic. Don't worry about it. Again, burn the boats. Do your thing. Like, leave.
How do you like find out if you're happy with where you're at? Like, what if you're someone who's like really numb to their feelings or their emotions? They don't really know, like, they don't really check in with themselves. How would you be able to decide if you're like, oh crap, I actually do have to do something about it? And what does that look like?
This is where rock bottom comes in. It's like, if that is the kind of person you are, it is going to take rock bottom to kind of wake you up out of that. But the other thing is, you said exactly there, it's like you have to check in with yourself. It's like, how are you doing? You know, how are you doing? Oh, I'm grand. It's like, no, we're going to have to go a little bit deeper than that. It's like, how are you? Oh, I'm good. All right. What's going well? Oh, well, this or Y or Z. What's not going so well? I think Jordan Peterson, you know, not to harp on about our heroes too much, but he said, it's like, if you genuinely sat on your bed and asked, what am I doing that's moving me in the direction that I don't want to be going? Like, what is the one thing that I'm doing? Or maybe it's more than one thing, but what am I really doing that I'm doing wrong? And you genuinely wanted to know, it would take 0.5 seconds before that answer came hurtling towards your face. The big issue is that when that thing comes up and the thing that you're doing wrong, your habit, because it's probably serving you in some way. It's like for an awful lot of people, like the game that we're in, it's food, it's alcohol, and it's downtime. And so obviously 3 amazing things. It's like, so obviously food, like who wants to eat less tasty food, and less of it? Who wants to give up their relaxation time? And who wants to stop going out and partying with their friends on the weekend? It's like all very powerful draws with, depending on what your perspective is, very big benefits, very big payoffs anyway. And so it's like, well, that's what you're fighting against. And as soon as that comes up and you're not ready to give that up, it'll be white noise.
Yeah.
And so again, it's like, listen, don't judge yourself, but at least don't lie to yourself. It's like, you know what the problem is, don't you? Really, like, you know what the problem is, and the problem is a couple of different things. Generally, it's whatever that one thing is. Obviously, that's the issue. It could be all 3. And then the next question is, right, well, on your journey to now move in the direction that you want, it's probably not going to look like trying to do it all at once. You know what I mean?
I heard a quote the other day. Extremes are easy, moderation is hard.
There you go. One of my favorite things that changed with me, and I really kind of identified with for the longest time when I started, and I mean like really started, like never missed a session started, is like I just fell in love with the word consistency. It's like I don't need to get the max set of push-ups as a PB. I don't need it, but I will be here on repeat with push-ups very consistently, way more consistently than anybody else that I know. Just because, again, that was like my personal challenge to myself. It's like, I'm going to be the hardest worker I know in terms of consistency, not intensity.
Yeah, but one of the things that I was going to say is that one of the reasons why people do like the extreme approach is because they hit rock bottom and they need to fix it. They want it done quick. It's like, oh crap, they have this massive realization, this massive surge of motivation. They know that they haven't been motivated for very long. So like, while the getting's good, while the motivation's high, what can I do to make the most of it? And I would say the best thing to do would be to start like scrambling to implement good habits and to change your environment to make implementing those good habits easier. And to cultivate some sort of like positive reinforcement for those habits. So like, while motivation's high, it's like sign up gym membership straight away. It's like, all right, set my alarms so that I'm getting up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, so I have time to go for a walk. And set my bedtime alarm to make sure that I'm getting enough sleep so that I have energy for the next day. Because like, there's nothing that will steal your motivation more than being tired.
And then another thing, then do the plan. That's a good time to do the plan. And that's where you need to like be smart and have a look. It's like, right, okay, don't design an extreme plan. It's like the extremeness and the intensity, as you just said, like brilliant point, is like needs to come as like in the preparation stage, because realistically the implementation stage shouldn't really be too extreme. It's like, or at least long term. Like, fair enough, you want to fucking hit the ground running after a week, but it's like, you should understand that that's going to burn out fairly quick, and then there's going to come this period where it's like, right, now we're in the deserts. Now we're in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, or whatever it is, or for 40 years.
Another thing I would say as well is like the mantra that I used to use all the time for showing up consistently when I didn't want to was like, just show up, just show up, just show up. If I feel like shit, if I feel like I'm not going to perform really well, if I show up, I've done the bare minimum, that's it. That was good enough. Just showing up is good enough, especially on the days where you're feeling down. Now, if you're like a professional athlete or you're training for something big and all that jazz, the goal should be to minimize days where you're like, just show up. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of the times, people have lives where they can't focus all their time and effort and energy on health and fitness. So they just show up thing can help a lot. And if you've coaches like us, whatever, you show up to one of our sessions, what we will do is we will pull the best out of you at that day and time. Like, one of the things that I'm very, very good at as a coach is reading how people are feeling on the day. And I'm pushing just like the right amount. Sometimes I get it wrong, obviously, but like if someone comes into me and they look absolutely shattered, they're super stressed and all that jazz, I'm like, all right, let's go one more, whatever, and then they give up. I'm like, oh, good job, whatever. Like, you let them save face for, like, let's say, giving up, because like usually most people want to give their best effort. They usually want to.
Yeah, they know, and they will. Like, it's like, but they won't give their their PB best efforts, like not in relation to everything they've ever done. It's like, but most people I found, as long as you make sure that they're safe, it's like, and then you encourage them, you know, like, because obviously they've got this like the voice inside their heads kind of telling them, oh, conserve your energy, this kind of stuff. If you can just kind of, if you can kind of chat a little bit louder. Now, no, keep pushing. You're doing well. Keep pushing until they're like, no, I've had enough. And you're like, yeah, fantastic. That's good enough. One of my favorite quotes, and this was my mentality when I started. And believe it or not, kind of counterintuitive. Like when I got into the David Goggins thing, like the intensity thing that I took away from David Goggins was a couple of things. One, it was like, you know, pain is just a frame of mind. It's like you can deal with the pain as long as you're not getting injured. Is like, and you have to know where that is. And your coach, hopefully here at Fighting Fit, will tell you where that is. Like, we're not going to let you hurt yourself. But you also kind of have to learn that line yourself. Then again, the intensity comes like the real place to work. Really, really, really is exactly as you said. Is with moderation and consistency. It's like build a wide, solid base first. Like really wide, a good low bar, but super consistent. And then it's like, and then after that, it's like rest at any point. Jenny, I went to Jenny's yoga class, the first yoga class that they ever did, or maybe I did the hot yoga first, but Jenny's yoga class, and it was the first like kind of like chilled out kind of atmosphere yoga class I ever did. And
hot yoga is intense.
Hot yoga is unbelievable. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love hot yoga. I haven't done it since pre-COVID.
We should do it soon.
We should, as soon as my head's better. We'll do it. And the rest of the stuff that I haven't been doing. But one of the things that Jenny said, and it's a mantra for life, and really is so true in life, is child's pose available to you at any time.
Oh man, yes.
And so it's like, if you're in your yoga practice, or you're in a yoga class, and you're really just getting beat up, or you're just fucking feeling shit, just take child's pose. If you're in a Fighting Fit workout, and it's all just getting a bit much, just take child's pose. If you're in the office, at home, wherever you are, and it's just getting a bit much, just take child's pose. It's available at any time. And that kind of mentality of just like, listen, just close your eyes and all the problems are waiting for you when you come back out. But it's like, if it's all getting a bit much, it's like, just take a break, but don't stop. Like the difference between taking a break and taking taking 5 and going, fuck it, I've had enough, is that's why people aren't successful long term. And the reason that they're not successful long term,
they don't learn to rest. They quit instead of resting. And one of the things as well that I think is really, really cool about some of the cues that they give in yoga and stuff like that, like, you know, child's pose is available at any time, or if you need to take a break, it puts the onus on them to check in with themselves and see how they feel. And then if they are pushing too hard and they do need to rest, they're like, oh, this is the line for me, I'll take a break. And then they'll be in child's pose waiting, trying to recognize, when am I ready to go again? And it like, instead of them just like completely outsourcing that responsibility to someone else telling them what to do, which I think is really, really cool.
I've seen people fitted me fail tests that I didn't fail because I know when to take a break.
What? Say that again?
Like, because I know how to pace myself. I will be more effective and efficient with less energy than somebody who, again, has, let's say, a bigger engine, more revs per second, but they burnt the engine out not only too quick, but let's say we burnt out at the same time, but they tried to go back too soon, and then the attempt was no good, and so it's like, oh well, I waited an extra 20 seconds. I know when I'm ready. I know when I'm not ready, and so it's like just learning to be efficient with your energy can save you and make you more effective.
And but like, what I think is really important as well is like, that's true with workouts. It's true with just a focus. It's true with just overall, like, let's say, life energy in general, like your will, your ability to exert what you want to happen, you know, like that will deplete over time. Like if you had a really stressful day at work and then you finish at, let's say, 4 o'clock or whatever, and you're trying to go to the gym, but you know, you had an argument with your boss, something was late on time or whatever it was, and you've been working all day, and then there was a customer that was being really aggravating. So your will is probably down to here, and that's where I think you know, just showing up is kind of like your child's pose. Jamie, just showing up and be like, look, I'm going to show up. I'll do the bare minimum. I can do that at any time.
That's the mentality. The mentality is like that. Perfection is not the standard. It's like, I don't know where people got that idea that like absolute best effort is required every session, anytime you do anything ever. It's like, fuck me, I don't want to start anything. I don't want to do anything under those guidelines. And like one of my favorite quotes as well that I heard before is like, it was like, hobbies, like for me, any hobby that I have to do perfectly. It's like, you know, you can just have a hobby and be shit at it. It's like, that's fine. As long as you enjoy doing it. It's like, I was like, that blew my mind. I was like, I didn't realize, like, yeah, just do it. Just because you like it. It's like, I generally used to love drawing and stopped drawing because I wasn't producing anything good. And so instead of
Wait, is this back when we were drawing like video game cases, or is this more recently?
Yeah, no. Well, this is when we were very, very young. Maybe 12.
We were drawing Sonic and Shadow and
Yeah. Like I used to love drawing, but it got to a certain point where I judged myself and said, you know what, these aren't any good, and so then I stopped drawing. Because it wasn't good. I said, oh well, why would I keep doing something I'm not good at? It's like, that's completely fine.
Sorry, did I cut out there?
You did a bit, yeah.
Yeah, Dad was calling.
Dad. Hello, Dad. Yeah, so exactly, yeah, do stuff. And if it is fitness, obviously this is something, if it is a hobby that you do want to eventually get good at, so what are we talking about? We're talking about fitness, nutrition. It's like, can we go back and can we have a nutrition conversation, please? Because obviously I feel like the fitness conversation is one thing. Again, for most of our clients, we sort that out. I feel like an awful lot of people is like, how like showing up. Are you showing up to the bloody sessions? Are you showing up 4 or 5 times a week? That's kind of what we're after covering over the last while. Are you in a place where you're ready to make the sacrifices? Are you ready to just show up to the bloody class? If you're not feeling it, can we show up anyway? If you miss a day, can we go back on the next one? If you're there at the session, you're not feeling it, can you give yourself a mental break enough to just get through the work and feel a sense of accomplishment and know that was good enough? Boom. Right? That's one side of the conversation. The next one is like, judge your day. It's like, are you active? Are you inactive? If you're inactive, you're going to get to eat less food. Simple as. All right. That's why we measure the steps. Like, you can have more food if you move more. If you have a desk job, it's going to be tough. You're probably going to have to go out for work in the evening, commit to a cardio session with a skip and rope, a bike, whatever your form of cardio is, or you're going to have to take a hit with your calories.
So there's a few different schools of thought on cardio and how much you should be getting in. I think one is 150 minutes of elevated heart rate activity per week. I think a good way to just eliminate that is to go for a big walk every single day.
But exactly. So there's, again, the 10,000 minimum steps, I would imagine, would be more than that.
Yeah.
So again, like 10, and in my opinion, just on my experience, like, that is just to feed people what I would deem an appropriate amount. It's like, if you're getting 5,000 calories or 5,000 steps a day, and then you want to be eating, a reasonable amount of food, it's like, I'm sorry to tell you, you're 3 stone overweight. You're not really moving. We can't really feed you that much if you want to lose the weight.
I think one of the things that I think people should, it would help them if they were made aware of it, is if they realize how easy walking is. Like, walking is not hard. When I was trying to cut to make 75 kilos, one of the things I used to do is I'd go to the gym. All right, I'd put the treadmill on a slight incline, and then put the speed up to walk into where it was just before I'd get, like, it was too fast for me to walk, or too fast for me to be comfortably walking. So it was like as hard as I could go, but still stay relaxed. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I would stick on Rick and Morty, or I would stick on House of Dragons, or some YouTube channel, or whatever. I would just watch it and walk for 20 minutes. Like, easy. Pretty reasonable. Like, is that hard? Like, that was not, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, do I want to do that, or do I want to do some heavy ass deadlifts? It's like,
so the question is, right? The question is, do I have the time? Because Chris, I'm after getting up at 5:30 in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. I'm after going home, making the kids' lunches, getting them to school, coming back, going to work, working for 8 hours, taking a lunch break where I went on a walk. I'm at 5,000 steps so far. I have to go home. I have to pick up the kids from school. They've got X, Y, and Z hobbies. It's like, where do I find the time? And it's like, so yeah, fair enough. Like, if we really, call a spade and push. It's like, there's probably an hour there somewhere for 80% of people. There's probably an hour there somewhere that you could allocate to it. But it's like, are you bothered given that hour? That's like it's. I don't think the question is, I'm not fit for walking.
All right. Well, let's say right. They don't have an hour. They don't have the hour, but they have 15 minutes.
Okay.
The 15 minutes, stick on your headphones, go out for a walk 15 minutes. It's better than nothing, right?
I live out in the country and it's dark.
Get a flashlight.
Dodgy roads. It's very dodgy roads around me.
Get a flashlight.
I can't
be very easy.
I can't be walking myself. I can't walk by myself. I'm too scared. But all I'm saying is, like, they're like, people just have reasons for it. And again, we would offer, it's like, right, fine, get a skipping rope in your kitchen beside your house. Fucking porch light on. And
Walk
and a
around your
lawnmower
house.
attached to you in case someone steals you. But again, walking your house again, very boring. Sam, we did just release, and there's plenty of them. Fighting Fit YouTube channel, 5,000 step workout video. It's like there's lots of different ways to get your steps. But the question is, my philosophy is like, are you allocating the time? It's like if there's not 30 minutes a day allocated to movement, again, it's going to be very, very hard for you to lose the weight or even just get the base cardiovascular benefits that you should have to feel fit and have a base level of vitality that you're not doing most tasks in your life fatigued. It's like that's kind of why we're doing it. And if you're carrying around extra weight, that's why we're trying to get the weight off as well, to give you that vitality and energy, and so you're not feeling cumbersome every time you do anything. Your joints aren't under severe pressure, and you're not getting injured.
Yeah, it's all honestly like when you're if you are 30 kilos overweight. So like let's say I said if you're 20 kilos overweight, even 10 kilos overweight, it's still 1.5.
5 kilo overweight, like it can, if you're like, for me, if I got an extra 5 kilo heavier, it's like I'd feel it in a session. But 10 kg up, we're starting to get to the point now. It's like it's a lot.
I went from 75 kilos up to 82 kilos, and I lost my ability to do muscle ups. And my pull-ups dropped from doing like 15 pull-ups to like 4. Like the everything was just way like everyone, push-ups were harder, burpees were harder, squat jumps, everything was way harder when I had the extra weight on. And then I thought, like, it was just like I thought I got like I was losing fitness even though I was training more than ever. But it was just like I put on so much weight.
Yeah, you're just heavier. It's like you're doing with a weighted vest. Exactly. So
exactly. That's what I was going to allude to. Like, imagine just if you want just to see what it's like, go buy a weighted vest on Amazon, fucking put it on you, and then spend one day with an extra 10 kilos. And it's like, it's harder. Everything's harder. You start making decisions you start making more decisions about how can I conserve energy.
I'm not going to take the stairs. Fuck that.
Yeah, no, it's a bit hard.
Do I really need a pee? Not really. I'll hold it for another hour.
15 minutes at least.
15 minutes. Yeah, so now the conversation, obviously, we need to get to in terms of nutrition. I'm not sure if this is something that I've talked about here on the podcast, but it's definitely something I talk about with my clients all the time, is the plan. The plan, right? Obviously, we have to hit our target. So everybody gets a calorie and a protein target. Do whatever you want, high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat.
How do I find out how many calories I should be eating? How?
Go to a fucking BMR calculator and
what's that? What is that?
Your basal metabolic rate. What's your basal metabolic rate? If you wake up tomorrow morning and you have sleep paralysis for 24 hours, it's how many calories you're going to burn in that state, right? So if you wake up, open your eyes and don't move one muscle, how many calories does it take just to
keep your body taking over?
Maintain basic function, right? So for the average person of fucking 70 kilo, let's say, it could be 1,500 calories, could be 1,700 calories, something.
Okay, well, your average person, just so everyone knows, your average person is a 75 to 80 kg male, young male. That's the average person. Well, like in terms of no, but it's like that's just the if you're saying your average person in general, like any of the studies that come up, like that's the way. It is sexist.
I think what you just said is sexist. Like you and your big mustache now are getting very sexist.
So let's say kilos. I'm going to do it right now. 75 kg, and they're 170 centimeters as well.
That's me. I'm average.
It's you, Brian.
Average Joe's gymnasium.
So your average person at 25, if you want, actually, I think it'll be good to do out a few examples here, okay? We'll do male and female. So 25-year-old, 170 centimeters, 75 kilos, will burn 1,693 calories.
I said between 15 and 1,700. I'm pretty impressed with myself.
Yeah, so just 1,700 calories. That's what your BMR would be. If now, based on that, you add a multiplier to it. So you multiply it by a certain amount.
Wait a minute. So this is where I was talking about. If you're an inactive Aaron, right, and you're burning 1,700 calories a day, to lose 1 pound a week, this is someone my size, and I've never stuck to this one day in my life, I would have to not move a muscle, let's say, and eat 1,200 calories a day in order to lose 1 pound of fat a week. Fuck that, right? So what I could do is hit 10,000 steps, and that's
But just to be clear, okay, real quick, that's it. 1,200 calories. Everyone will say that that's like sweet f all. Everyone will say that that's sweet f all. And going from like eating, let's say, 3,000 calories to 1,200 calories is a big drop. But it's still, if you're, let's say, doing intermittent fasting where you skip your breakfast, that's still two 600-calorie meals a day. Like, the
listen, I
600-calorie meal is like it's a good meal.
It is a good meal. But here's what I'll tell you. Here's what I know from my own personal experience is, and it's my own personal experience of getting on average 20 to 25,000 steps a day, is that when I go, for me, below 1,600 calories, my body just goes hunger, hormones through the roof. Now you're hungry. Come on, more food, more food. What are you doing? Come on, get up out of that now. Get up out of that. You know your maintenance is 2,400 calories now. Come on, quit your messing. And so that's the battle you're up against, and this is why we can't drop the calories too low. So we do need to be conservative with how many calories. But again, I agree with you. It's like, also, if I was inactive, 1,500 calories based on the metabolic rate, barely moving every day, I wouldn't be as hungry. Because again,
but I think it's very important to understand like the perspective of the person who is about to do it. So like, again, 1,200 calories to a 52 kg woman, who's trying to lose a little bit of body fat, like, it's not as big a deal to an 85 kg man who is very, very active, whatever it is. Like, it's a completely different scenario in terms of feeling of hunger and all that jazz. Like, because a lot of people will berate people or berate coaches for putting someone on a 1,200 calorie meal plan, but it's like, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with it.
No, yeah, I get what you mean. there is a stigma to it. Anytime I work at someone's BMR under activity, I'm like, listen, you're 5'3", you're on 1,200 calories. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're 5 foot, you're really, really light, and we're not active. If you want to lose the weight within this time, this is what we would have to do. Now, here are the options. Okay, if you don't want to be on 1,200 calories, we might have to rein in our expectations for how quickly we're going to lose the weight, or we need to up our activity in some sort of way. And then a lot of times it's you need to sort of be, let's say, client focused in this sort of regard. So like, ask them what they want to do. So lay out the options. And like, all right, do you want to do this drastically? Do you feel like you could commit to 1,200? And then you experiment with that for a week, and you're like, oh Jesus, 1,200, I'm feeling it. I'm too hungry all the time. It's like, all right, what do you think? Do you want to up the calories by about 200 or 300? But we need to inject some steps in here every single day. How does that sound? And then they're like, oh, I don't know about the steps. I can't really do that. It's like, all right, well, if we can't do the steps, we won't increase the calories as much, but we got to rein in your expectation for how quickly we're going to lose this. Because, if we want to lose 1 pound of body fat per week, we need a deficit of at least 500 calories a day, around that. And I think it's also important to state that all these calories and all this sort of stuff, this is all guesstimation. This is not accurate. This is not accurate at all. This is like a tool that you can use to start seeing how everything's working. Like, there's, just because the formula says, a 25 kg male at 170 centimeters at 75 kilos, like, there's way too many variables in that. It's
here's my simple one. I'm 75 kg. Let's say, for talk's sake, I have 30 pounds or 40 or 30 kilo of muscle on me. What happens if that same person, same height, is 75 kilo, and they only have 20 kilo of muscle and an extra 10 kilo of fat? It's like, that's less calories they're going to burn, because they don't have as much metabolic tissue, and vice versa. If there's somebody who's way leaner than me with 40 kilo of muscle and at the same weight, it's like they're going to burn more calories, and so obviously that's super relevant as well. For men, it's very, very easy. Eat X amount calories, track it, weigh in the next day. It's literally that simple. Do that for a week, you'll find your calories. Ladies, it's a little bit tougher because obviously you got your cycle fluctuating there, but the rule would be fairly similar, but you wouldn't have a true reflection for a 4-week stretch.
Well, one of the things that I would say is best for fat loss in terms of like how often should you be weighing in. I really, really like weighing every day. I really, really like weighing every day. The reason I like it is because it gives you awareness of how much your body does change day to day. Now, if you are one of these people who are like maybe a little bit anxious, or you're a perfectionist and you see your weight go up one day and down another day, it will either be really good or really bad for you. I think it'll be really good for you because it will give you perspective. And then when you weigh in every day, you take your average on a Friday and you compare your weekly average, and that's the result we go off. So the other ones, you're just gathering data, Okay, Friday, this is the big day. We get our weekly average, and we see if that's less than the week before. And lo and behold, it is, even though you went through all these little roller coasters every single day in terms of weight going up and down and up and down.
What if I
do you
told you
think?
this? What if I told you this? Take your focus off the result, right? Stop in result orientated and start focusing on the process. It's like what if we didn't, like, obviously you could weigh in every day. Let's say you weighed in every day or didn't weigh in every day. Let's say you tracked your calories, had a very balanced and healthy mindset towards it, which is basically the only thing I'm concerned about right now is my ability to stick to the program in a stress-free, low anxiety state. So what I want to do is I want to make fair decisions to myself. So I'm going to wake up in the morning. First thing I'm going to do is design a meal plan that when I look at it, I go, that's doable. And also do on MyFitnessPal or get the food scales out, whatever way you do it, that it'll also hit your target. So it's on target, and you look at it, go, this is full of foods that I like. I enjoyed this. I'm going to run it by my coach. The coach gives you the green light. All your focus is, how well can I stick to this given my current lifestyle, right? So
I don't have a coach.
You don't have a coach. You're listening to this podcast. You have access to the Healthy Lifestyle Club on Facebook. Go to Fighting Fit Healthy Lifestyle Club. Post your meal plan up there, and we'll give you the green light, or we'll give you a little bit of advice for free. All right, because that's the kind of people that we are. All right, but if you're listening to this, you're probably a member as well, and so again, you 100% have a coach. Now, what
I was going to say is you can literally Google, 1600 calorie meal plans.
Very easily, exactly. But the key point that I'm trying to get across here is, can you stick to the diet, and can you do it in a way that you're not stressing out about it? Because if you're stressing out about it, it's like, that's probably not sustainable. Imagine you had a relationship with somebody and every day you were just stressing out about every little single thing that they did. It's like, well, how long do you think that relationship's going to last? Not very well. And so that's kind of the approach that I would take towards your food, is like, you shouldn't be obsessed with it, but again, you should have a healthy relationship with it. So again, it's like, are you eating foods you like? Yes. Are you moving towards a goal that you want? Are you anxious constantly about it? It's like, yes. So why? What story are you telling yourself? Like, what kind of thought gymnastics are you doing that's kind of bringing you to this place? And
actually, let's talk about that for a wee second. Well, like, what kind of mental gymnastics do you hear, or do you see people, let's say, performing when they're talking about their food and they're getting stressed or getting anxious about it?
Well, one of the first things I would say is like willful blindness. Do you know how many people are just like, have eaten calories that they're just not willing to register as part of the thing? It's like, oh, I didn't eat them biscuits. It's like, you did. You ate the biscuits, and now they're relevant, and you want to pretend like you didn't. And so now you're feeling stressed out because you know you're not on target, and you'd still like to step up onto the scales and hope that they go in the right direction, but they didn't, because you didn't stick to the plan. And so if that's the kind of person that you are, it's like, include biscuits as part of the meal plan. So if you're not willing to give up the biscuits, fine, but you need to incorporate them into the plan instead of pretending you're the kind of person who doesn't eat biscuits. I don't eat biscuits. I don't eat junk food. I never have takeouts. It's like, listen, you're 2 stone overweight. There's something going on. All right. So it's like, let's stop pretending that we're not engaging in excessive behavior.
But what I think is really important as well is to like find out how much is too much, how much is not enough.
What's your breaking point?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but what I find with that, as someone who grew up with like an all or nothing mentality with boxing and all that sort of stuff, like one of the things that I would find personally is that if I got a packet of biscuits, even till this day, I will eat every single one of them. Yeah. So like moderation is a bit like multi-packets. One of my
as a child trying to get a chocolate bar, and there'd be none left. We went into the shop and say, where the fuck are you all?
Yeah. Oh man. That was bad. I'd sneak some into the bathroom as well. That was so sad.
Love it.
But one of the things that
hilarious. Actually not that hilarious. Quite sad. Chris, oh God love me. It's a bit of trauma to do it. He dealt with chocolate.
But one of the things that really like that is really frustrating when I'm trying to, like, let's say meal prep, or I'm trying to get stuff that I like, is everything is now in like a multi-pack that is like tricked in. So you buy like you can't buy like just a one serving of biscuits. You can't buy like thing. It's like if you're going shopping and
You
you
can,
want
but
some
it's
ice cream.
30% more expensive.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's cheaper than the individual. But because of that, you see the opportunity cost.
Yeah,
You get me? Like, and then you rationalize. No, I got to get the bigger packet because if I don't, well, then I'm like getting screwed over here in some sort of deal. Do you know what I mean? Like your ego will sort of pop up and be like, "Nah, I'm not being tricked like that." But you're getting tricked either way.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's like obviously it's going to be hard to practice your discipline. So again, this is kind of what we're focusing on. It's like, what is going on with you that you're not getting the results? It's these small decisions. It's all these small decisions. It's like if you have 100 decisions to make in a day and you get 70 of them right, you're probably doing well. Now I think that's probably a stretch. How many decisions you really have to make in a day in relation to your nutrition? Maybe 20, right? So you got 20 decisions to make in a day in regards to your weight loss. In terms of like most of your behavior is probably automated. It's like you have to get up, you have to go to the kids, you have to X, Y, Z. It's like, what's for breakfast? And that decision might start the night before. It's like, is it planned or not? No. Oh shit. Right. That's something we'll get right tomorrow. Cool. You have to plan your breakfast today for tomorrow. Cool. We'll move on to your next one. Next one is, your mid-morning snack. Maybe you're making the kids lunch and you just keep eating the fucking extra crust that you cut off. It's like, right, well, that's got to go. It's like maybe we'll listen. This is what you're dealing with.
All right, wait there. Are there people not losing weight because they're eating the crust off their kid's sandwich?
They're definitely.
Is that it? Is that it? Like, is that
part of it? Listen, part of it. People just go, "Oh, I can't let it go to waste."
These calories are okay.
There's a bit of jam on there. You know what I mean? And so again, it's like, but again, it's like it's these little decisions. People just don't want to. It's like that's 30 calories 5 days out of the week. It's like it's 200 calories. It's not relevant, right? And again, it's more about the person you are. It's like you're not mindful when you're making that choice. You're not disciplined when you're making that choice, and it's not in your plan to make that decision. And so again, it's like, and so obviously it might not be the crust. It could be the fucking two last chicken nuggets on the child's dinner or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I have heard that multiple times. They clear the things clear.
Yeah.
And so then the next part is, and why wouldn't you? Croquettes are amazing. All right.
And it's easy, guilt-free. Like there's no one's gonna know.
100%. Exactly. And so the next one is like, right, your lunch. It's like, is your lunch prepared? Did you stick to the lunch? Did you enjoy it? How was the flavor? It's like, say, oh, I didn't really enjoy it, so I ended up going for something else. I ate half of it. Didn't really like it. Make a nicer lunch the next time. Well, all these little decisions that we're going to walk you through your day and go, right, how many of the things would you say that you did right? And again, set the bar low. It's like try and get at least one of them better the next day. And so again, then you'll get confidence and then hopefully start changing your identity away from I'm the kind of person who can't get anything right to I'm the kind of person who can get 3 things right out of the day. And really you have to take that if that's where you're at. It's like
I would say with there, I would say even the mindset shouldn't even be that. It's like I'm the kind of person who is orientated to doing better. In general, just in general, rather than being like I want to get this. Like if you make a mistake, I'll do better next time. It's just like I'll do better. I'll do my best to do better. That's it. If I make a mistake, I'll try and do better. That's it. And don't be hard. I think being really really hard on yourself or being like if I don't do better the next day or whatever it is, because of whatever reason, I think that will lead into almost like a self-destructive sort of.
It's like it can be very fucking false economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like oh, I'm going to be really hard on myself so I do well. I'm going to be so hard on myself that I push myself off to work. It's like, well, that worked out well, didn't it? Mm-hmm. I'm going to work out every day for the next. I'm going to work out 3 times a day for the next week. And by the first week, you've had a month's fill of exercise. Now you don't want to exercise anymore. It's like, well, it's like, oh, I'm going to cut out all treats. No more nice stuff. Nothing that I enjoy is going to go past my mouth, and you last 6 hours. It's like, well, how'd that work for you? And so again, this is where the balanced, consistent approach is obviously an awful lot better. And me and Chris, as you can see here, are constantly like throwing out stuff that's semi-hilarious and extreme, but then we temper it. And so it's like you have to get very good at tempering your own kind of choices and decisions and rationale. It's like, oh, it's like, oh, I'm just not good enough this morning. It's like, and I do it all the time. It's like this morning, for example, there was somebody and they're doing something, and every time that they jumped up on the bar and they came down, like, oh, they were shaking their head. It's like they're telling themselves whether they're aware of it or not. It's like that's not good enough. It's like it's not good enough. It's like instead of going, boom. All right, we lasted 2 seconds, whatever. It's like it's just this negative mentality. It will push you off the work.
That's something as well I see a lot. People like hold themselves to standards that they don't even have. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know where
did you
like,
get that standard from? Like, why is that not good enough all of a sudden?
Yeah, like I don't. But like, after having a conversation with me, you don't even like I have no frame of reference for how they could even judge that as bad. Like, how do they know it's bad?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How do they know what it's bad? Like, they don't even know what a perfect pull up looks like. They don't know what a perfect jumping pull up looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like it's not good enough.
Yeah, it's not a pull up. It doesn't look like what I've seen. Which is completely normal, very common. But that's the common mentality. And so the real mentality is like, let me judge. If you see me shaking my head at you, it's like what is it that kids do with their parents? Here's a good cue. If you're a Fighting Fit member or you have a coach, every time you do something, look at your coach and then gauge what their reaction is as the truth. If the coach is looking at you going, ah, it's like, stop what you're doing immediately. If the coach is looking at you very disappointed, it's like, be disappointed. But if the coach is like, oh no, good job, it's like, you did a good job. And so it's like, when
we will be very honest. We will be very, very honest with you. And like in the name of your own safety.
Yeah, I do my best to just be like, I will just react as honest as I can. Sometimes I laugh. Like
sometimes I walk up like, that's terrible.
Yeah,
that's terrible. I literally say it was like that is awful. We need to bring this right back. You're pushing too hard. You're trying to get a full push up where we don't have the shoulder stability for this. We need to bring it right back. Do it to your knees, but all of a sudden to do it right. I'm like, perfect. That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's what I want to see you do it from now on. Once you get to 20 of them, then we can step it back up. But see that other shite, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I'll try and create this like juxtaposition of like terrible and really, really good, so that it's emotionally like evocative from. Because when you have that like emotional sort of thing and you're like, it is terrible, they'll remember it way better.
Some people that look at hope in your face like, no. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, no, because sometimes they do check. They will check in with like they'll do a rep and it'll look, and it's like, oh, was that low enough? It's like, sorry.
But again, in general, it's like that's how kids learn. Like kids learn by if they're going off the park and they fall, the first thing they do is look back. It's like, oh, my horse. It's like, no, you're fine. And like if you ever know that thing you've seen parents with young kids, they'll do it all the time. They're like, oh yeah, ha ha ha! They start laughing. The kid's like, oh, it must be fine. And so it's like you're programming them based off somebody who knows better. And most people are just pulling this advice out of their fucking arses. It's like you don't have a reference point for this, so you might as well enter.
Whoa! They do have a reference point. And what I was trying to allude to earlier is the reference point is, like I have to be hard on myself, otherwise I'm not going to be good enough. That's the reference point that they have.
Good shit, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Like that is why they're so hard on themselves. And when they're doing, like, see when I'm coaching someone and like people don't understand how much they reveal just through like their own self-talk. Like they don't, or maybe they do know, but like, like if I like just go like, oh, I hope, like, you talk yourself down there like 4 or 5 times in a row, and they're like, oh, what? It's like, then they'll berate themselves even more for talking themselves down. They're like, oh, I know, I always do that, I'm a piece of shit. And then they're very rigid with that sort of thing. So I think it's important to let's say even just acknowledge.
I feel like that mentality is amazing. I feel that beat yourself up and berate yourself into the ground, I feel like is probably one of the most useful temperaments you can have if it's paired with, I am also the greatest human being who has ever lived in the world. I am the best athlete. It's like if you're going to talk shit and talk yourself into the ground, it better be in an effort to make yourself forged into this athletic fucking specimen of perfection. And if you're orientating towards average with this shit talk of like nothing I ever do is good enough, it's like, well, enjoy that journey. But for me, it's like I'm incredibly critical of myself, but I also in my head, as deluded as the fantasy might be, feel like I'm still going to be Michael Jordan level of successful in something someday. And that might not be true. It might not even be close, but it's very useful. It's very useful to believe that you could be that good. And listen, it's worked so far. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm fucking hyper athletic, but I'm definitely way further along than I was. And the journey is definitely one of, belief. And also then again, like going, shit, that's not good enough. Or, geez, you could have done that better. It's like, and then implement, getting into action. Chris, we're pretty much running out of time here. We're pretty much done.
That's
Do you have
what I was
anything
checking
you
there.
like?
Yeah, so first I want to apologize for not giving a structured plan for someone who wants to kickstart the Happy Fitness journey. We did go on a few different rambles, but I'm saying once you get started talking, we can't.
I'm a philosopher. Listen, don't come to me looking for a plan. I'll give you a philosophy followed by a plan. But for me, the big thing is like I want to get people's philosophy, your own personal philosophy. That's what I'm all about. I'm not necessarily a reps or sets kind of guy. I'm literally like go to how it feels, play it by how it feels. And again, as I said, like the plan is probably the least important part. The most important part is like, do you feel like you're getting it right, and is your ability to follow it? Like what if I gave you any plan? Could you follow any plan? No, I couldn't follow any plan. So that's the thing to work on. And then when I give you the easiest, best, most effective plan, you'll absolutely sail the bar. But if you can't follow a hard plan, if you can't follow an easy plan, it's like the plan is irrelevant. You are the thing. Be like water. Be formless. If a plan comes to you, you become the plan.
But what I think is really fun. Like the reason why I laughed there when you said like the plan is the least important part. It's like that's true. I was laughing because that's true. But most people will think, no, I need the plan. I need the plan. Like when you're training, okay, all training really is it's basically I know we have to go. It's basically a stimulus, so your body will adapt. That's all it is. That's all it really is when you're training. That's it. If you want to get stronger, you want to get bigger, whatever it is, you need to give your body a stimulus to adapt. You need to create an environment that it can do that. And there's ways to optimize it. But if we're looking to lose weight, all it basically is calories in, calories out. You need to burn more energy than you're consuming. And the best way to start that, I think, is to have some sort of structure that you can lean on. I think you need to be active and you need to work out. So you need to build muscle and you need cardio to basically burn a few extra calories. So to be more, a better, what does Coach Greg say, buddy? A better butter burner. You want to be a better butter burner. And the way you do see that is fast. If you want to do that, you need to get your cardio and you need to get your 10,000 steps in every day. That's the simplest way to do it. So 10,000 steps. Make sure you're eating. Make sure you know, like, if you're not going to hit your if you're not going to be like hitting your protein, hitting your macros, just know how many calories you're eating. Be honest with yourself. Know how many calories you're eating, and make sure it's just less than you're burning. All right, and then after that,
here's what I would say: if you're building muscle, there's going to be times where you're stuffed and you have to keep eating. If you're trying to lose fat, there's going to be times that you wish there was more on your plate, and there just isn't. And
it's not that big a deal. It's not hunger. Hunger is not an emergency.
Sit with it. Sit with it. Just sit with it. Ride the wave. You'll be fine. I promise you. Take child's pose. Don't worry about it. You'll be grand.
And then after that, make sure you're getting enough sleep. If your circadian rhythm is out of whack, this is one of the things, like, people who will struggle with this the most are people who circadian rhythms are all over the place. So you need to move a little bit more. You need to make sure you're sleeping enough so that you're not stressed and you're not eating because of stress. You're not overly reactive. You need to train consistently and you need to know how many calories you're eating. You check those 4 boxes. Like, I would bet on your success.
Same. How much did you bet? Put the house in it.
All right.
Chris, sign us out.
That was the Fighting Fit Show. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. Make sure you like it, you comment under it, and if you want, share it to your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, wherever it is. It really does help us, and hopefully we will see you in the next one.